Okay, so welcome to the inside of my relatively new E46 M3. This is a 2005. It's a compact. I recently picked it up 2-3 months ago, and I haven't driven it too much due to the weather. But as of late, I've been kind of taking it out and just going on fun drives around the neighborhood, around the city. And I figured I might as well start shooting these POV driving videos that I really enjoy watching on YouTube. This is the first and hopefully a long run of interesting, kind of, if not interesting, then therapeutic or enjoyable to watch and kind of relax with, featuring my E46 M3 as well as my other enthusiast car, which is a W204 C63. First, I'll give you a rundown of this car at a high level, the big mods that it has, a walk around outside, and then we'll hop back inside, take a quick look around inside. There's not too much to go around since the car is from 2005. And then we'll go for a drive. Today, we're actually going to a little car meet. Not sure what that's going to look like, but along the way, we'll talk about how it drives, the SMG. We'll discuss why I bought it, what are my plans for it. So let's get started. We'll hop out. This is a 2005 E46 M3. These are comp replica wheels. They're not actually the OEM ones, but I'm sitting on some Michelin PS4S tires. This car has no cats, so it has active auto works headers and then a magnet flow catback exhaust. It is finished in carbon black, or in German carbon shorts, and it's technically it's black, but in the light, especially when the sun is on it, it's really much like a dark blue. This paint is honestly very nice. It's still very deep, so I'm very happy with the color. And in front, it has a little something peeking out here, which is an even turn intake, as well as aftermarket Angel Eye LEDs. Okay, let's hop back in. But inside my car is carbon black on the outside, black interior. It comes with the factory nav. I really do enjoy this interior. It's not super fancy or anything. I will say that it's a great place to be, and it also does have a sunroof, so it's not a slick top, but otherwise it's very well optioned. Personally, I'm not out here trying to break track records, so I don't mind having a sunroof, and it has the Harman Kardon sound system. And honestly, I run it on hi-fi mode all the time. And otherwise, on the inside, I just have my Uniden R8 radar detector, and I have a little not so hidden Bluetooth aux cable, so I can play my music. I think this interior is in great shape, and it's a great place to be. Very comfortable, pretty quiet. Not only is it very nice, but it's also very practical. The visibility is very good, and that's something that I really enjoy about driving this car. I feel like I can see everything. So I picked up this car with 126,000 kilometers. I've put on 600-700 kilometers since the delivery day. The keen eye among you will notice that this is actually a US spec instrument cluster, because it has the unleaded gasoline, and as well as the speedo is in miles per hour. In the very beginning of its life, it was brought to Seattle, but I think within 2-3 years it was imported to Canada, and then it's been in the province of Alberta ever since. Again, on these gauges, I really love these gauges. I love the gray and the white, and I love the little M logo. Of course, when we drive, you'll see that it has the incremental rev limiter, so as your engine warms up, as your oil warms up, the car will tell you, hey, you can rev me out a bit more. But frankly, I like to wait until the actual oil gauge is between 120 and 210. That's kind of where it stays. So once it kind of gets above 120 and closer to the dot in the middle, that's kind of when I start revving it out, even though the rev lights are telling you, hey, you can rev out more. But I like to take care of my car. Okay, so let's get it started and get on the road and make our way over to this little pop-up meet. Not sure what my expectations are going into this meet, but hey, might as well go check it out. And then along the way, we'll chat about lots of the things that you have on your mind regarding the SMG, why I bought it, my future plans for it, the maintenance history, my overall impressions, anything along that nature. So I always like to wait for my cars to kind of prime, wait for everything to turn on, and sounds great with proper headers and exhaust. A perfectly clean dash, which is great, gives me peace of mind. The rev counter on the right here is already saying that you can rev to 7.5 or 8, but the oil isn't fully kind of where the middle dot is, which is how I gauge when to really reuse the rev. So let's get started here, make our way out. We should be able to have a little bit of fun on the way once we're out of the city, hopefully, where there's not too much traffic or cops or pedestrians or other people around. Well, this is unfortunate. We're stuck behind a bus, but that's okay because we'll be going under an overpass. And then because there's no cars behind me, I should be able to kind of just wait, back off. And I'll give you a little taste of what this car is like and what it sounds like. I think this car has been covered, you know, a ton on the internet, online, whether it's a forum or whether it's a YouTube video or whatever. But I think, you know, as owner of these cars, we always want to give our own opinion on whatever, whether we agree or not. And, you know, that's kind of what I'm doing here. So, like, I don't know why he needed to do that, but okay. Yeah, plenty of space and time to come to the right, but okay. Okay. So now that we're kind of settled in on, you know, your typical North American highway, basically, where, you know, you're a little bit too scared to speed because of radar, cops, other people, but you're also, you know, going decent rate of speed, but the road is very just plain, like, it's not twisty, there's not a lot of driver involvement. We can chat about, and you have all these potholes to dodge, so I guess that gives you some engagement. People behind me are like, oh, this guy's driving drunk, but no, I'm just trying not to crack my wheels here. And this part is a common radar spot, so I'll, you know, slow down even more. But so now that we're kind of here and kind of, you know, cruising on our way to the meet, let's chat about, you know, the biggest talking point of this car, which, you know, for most people is just, you know, radar right here, right? So the biggest talking point of this car, of course, is SMG transmission. I think most car enthusiasts are already aligned on the whole, like, oh, the car is very analog, it's one of the BMW greats, the engine is nice, if you take care of it, it's not terrible, the chassis is light, you know, handles its weight. The SMG is a very divisive topic between people who own the car, who don't own the car, and everyone in between. So people who own the car still, you know, like to talk about the transmission. People who don't own the car also like to talk about the transmission, so let's talk about it. So SMG, you know, you can find a technical, long, thorough breakdown, you know, online, and many have been done. But in short, it's basically just an automated manual. Everything is exactly the same, except that you have hydraulics moving the clutch for you. So, you know, this guy is just merging at the speed of not the highway, because that's just something you find in North America. The speed limit is 80. I was going 85 along with everyone else, and he just, all right, let's merge at 75 because, yep. Okay, so back to the SMG. The SMG initially first debuted in the E46, which North America didn't get because we only got the manual version. So technically in North America, the E46 was the first to get the SMG transmission. No car behind us. We're in second. 100 speed limit. Okay, so driving the SMG, because the fact that it's basically a manual, myself and other SMG owners would kind of recommend you to kind of drive it like a manual. So I lift off and then shift. I also drive in SMG mode 4. There are 6 modes, so you can see 5. You can see 5 when you're driving normally, and when you turn off traction control, you'll see another extra 6th bar. It doesn't actually shift faster. I think it just punishes you, the driver, more. It's a bit more aggressive, and, you know, I think it just puts more wear on the transmission, which, you know, I don't think there's really much a point for. So I drive in 4. Again, I'm just kind of driving on the road, you know, commuting, driving for fun, not trying to set any lap records or anything. But yeah, overall, that's the SMG. SMGs are very expensive to fix if they do break. Again, it's been well documented. but it's also one of those things where I see it as like, hey, I bought an SMG car because SMGs kind of go for less than, you know, factory manuals. And, you know, knock on wood, there's not any wood in here, but knock on wood, that if it does break, I'll just have the option of converting it to a manual, and I can make that decision and cross that bridge when I have to. And, you know, like when I was looking for one, I actually wanted to buy pretty much as good of an example as I could. And this was a pretty low mile, local owner. I met the guy, like super, super nice. And he's taking great care of this car. He didn't drive it too much either. But, you know, no maintenance was really deferred. Stuff was, you know, kept up to date. But it's a compact, you know, so it's a bit more desirable than, you know, your everyday run-of-the-mill E46 M3. And, you know, I think most people who are into these cars know about the CSL, and again, that's something that you know, is frankly out of my price range, and it's probably not something that I would want to buy even if I could afford it, because the prices are so insane that I could buy a 991 GT3, you know, for example. So I probably wouldn't want to spend that money on an E46 M3, even though I do love this chassis and I love this car. So that gave me, you know, the compact. The compact is the next best thing, you know, after the CSL. And, you know, my plans for it, or my vision for this car is very much in line with that of, you know, placement in the BMW lineup. I want to make this basically, you know, my own kind of CSL. But we can kind of talk about the stuff I have planned for it, you know, when we get there. So overall drivability, I think this chassis is just is so nice to drive. Like, I love the feeling of it. It feels very light. You know, it's very analog, which, you know, cliche, right? But it's true. The full hydraulic steering, it's not electronically assisted. The steering rack is the compact steering rack, which is another difference compared to your regular E46. The regular E46 gets a few complaints regarding, you know, stuff about like the rack being a bit fast and a bit loose on top dead center. But the compact, I think, the comp steering pack, I think, resolves that issue. And hold that thought, because I love driving this car. The chassis feels great. I love how it handles. I love the connection that you have with the steering wheel to the road, to the suspension, and like you just feel so in charge of what's going on, and you feel so connected to what's actually happening. I've already driven 600 to 700 kilometers on it, so that just shows you how much I like driving this car. All right, so now we have another fun sector. We don't get many of these in North America, so gotta take advantage of these. I just mentioned about, you know, the driving dynamics of this car. On that little on-ramp, you know, in that corner, we're, you know, going a decent amount of speed, nothing crazy, but it feels so planted. You feel so connected to everything in the car. You feel like you're driving it, and, you know, you just feel like it gives you a lot of confidence. And I think no small part of it is because this car is on aftermarket coilovers, so it's on some Fortunato 500 coilovers. So no doubt that would help the handling and suspension a lot. But I think in the end, this is just a fantastic chassis. I wouldn't say it's super slow either. as we roll up kind of to the meat here, we can kind of conclude the first portion of this drive with just kind of why I bought the car and why this car means so much to me. And with most people that's kind of my age, I kind of grew up, you know, playing Need for Speed, and you know, you get your typical E46 M3 GTR, you know, fan. I can't deny that that's one of the big reasons why I love this car so much and I wanted to buy one of these. But another reason is because the E46 M3 is actually one of the first like kind of enthusiast cars that I've ever sat in. Like growing up, my parents never had anything interesting or fun. It was just always pretty old SUVs and crossovers. The days I remember was like when I was maybe like 6, 7. One of our family friends drove me in an E46 M3 convertible, that was, and I don't even remember if it was an M3. I've always found that the E46 M3 chassis just really spoke to me in terms of looks, because back then that's kind of all I knew. Like I was like, yeah, this car, I really liked the look of this car even when I was younger. So that's kind of why. So, you know, combination of growing up in the early 2000s and then, you know, having that first kind of impression of the car, seeing it, and then, you know, having the video game influence as well. That's kind of, those are the three main reasons. So you might have noticed that I am no longer, you know, at a Walmart, which is where the meat was. You know, a lot of people started showing up. People were revving. Someone did a burnout in the parking lot in front of parked cars and pedestrians. So I kind of figured, hey, this is not really my scene. And you know, I kind of just made my way out. So now we'll slowly make our way back into town. But before that, there are some highways and on-ramps and stuff around here, and we're kind of far out of the city, so I think the likelihood of cops is a little bit lower. Plus the roads are more empty, so you know, we'll give you guys what you want: a bit more driving, a bit more acceleration, a bit more intake noise, and all that. And as we make our way back, I'll talk about the maintenance history as well as my future plans for it, and kind of just my overall impressions of the car, which I'm sure, spoiler alert if you haven't realized, but at this point in the video, like, I love this thing. So this car is a little bit low, so I do like to go sideways and go slow over everything. She actually got some good looks, you know. I think people still appreciate E46 M3, especially one that's, you know, in my opinion, very clean, very well built, very OEM plus and all that. Oh, these roads. Today is so windy out here. I'm like literally blown to the left. So in terms of maintenance, none of the big three have been done, right? So rod bearings, your vanos, your subframe. So those three will be done under my ownership, and I plan to do that. I'm not in a huge rush, to be honest, unless something breaks. But yeah, like, while we have this little stretch of road, let's have a little bit of fun. So I'm not in a huge rush to do them, because I think, like, I know that this car is in pretty good shape, but obviously if something does pop up, there's like a drivability issue, or if there's like a obvious, like, you know, problem with anything, I'm, you know, gonna jump on it straight away. That also leads me nicely to kind of my plans for the car. My approach to cars in general is very much OEM plus. With the mods that have already been done to this car, I frankly don't see myself doing too much. And that's just because, no, it has a lot of great tasteful mods already. Like, if anything, I might go and get some better parts. Like, for example, instead of Fortune Auto coilovers, I might put on KWs instead, right? It's on OEM rotors and pads, but I like to put them on, you know, Stop Tech. I might do an upgrade to the Porsche 996, I believe, brake kit, or I might go all the way and do some Brembos. Oh, these roads are not great. The only big modification that I would want to do is I want to put the CSL ducktail trunk on it. I think that just looks so much better than the factory kind of flat trunk. I currently have a little lip spoiler on it, which doesn't look terrible, but I personally think that the CSL trunk is very, very nice. And in terms of other stuff, everything else is kind of lower priority. I'll probably do them, you know, if there's nothing else better to do, or if, you know, I'm not trying to save money for another car or something. But, you know, I do want to think about, you know, doing a full-blooded CSL kind of homage, which is, you know, the CSL bumper, as well as the BMW carbon airbox from Carbonius. So, like, those are long-term, like, good to have kind of modifications that I'm thinking of, at least right now. My opinion on it might change as I own the car for longer, but I currently don't have any plans to, you know, go do crazy stuff with it. But nothing too major in terms of my plans for the car or anything like that. I kind of just want to enjoy it, and like I said, like, my main priority is kind of just keeping her in good health and making sure everything is up to date, everything's perfect. We'll have an acceleration here so you can hear the noise from first gear. The one behind us. Get some downshifts. Yeah, so I was demonstrating SMG, like, it's not super slow. It has a lot of character to it, and this car just reflects that period of, you know, this is the bleeding edge of technology. Pull here, the windows down. So many potholes on all of our highways. That kind of concludes this kind of video about my E46 M3 very well. I think I've kind of gone over everything that a person will want to know regarding this car specifically, the mods that it has, you know, my perspective going into it, my feelings about the SMG, my feelings about driving it, as well as my future plans for it. So, you know, a lot of car enthusiasts, you know, myself included, we like to say, like, hey, like, you know, this is a car that we'll never sell, keep this for life. But, you know, you never know. You have to be real. You have to be realistic. If something like if a crazy offer comes along, or if you're, you know, trying to buy that dream car of yours or something, that's kind of only when I foresee myself selling it. However, I can confidently state that I have no intention of selling it as of right now, and in the short term. As in short term, as in call it a year to 3 years, right? Like, I have absolutely zero intention to sell it. Hold that thought because there's a tunnel coming up. I feel very privileged and blessed to be able to own the 2 cars that I do, and to be able to drive them pretty much whenever I would want. But again, you know, if a crazy offer comes, like, hey, look, I'm gonna buy your E46 M3 for 60 grand, 70 grand. All right, well, look, you can take it. But, you know, life is unpredictable. You never know what's gonna happen. Closing thoughts wise, as we, you know, head back into the city here, you know, I think you can tell from the video that I'm very much in love with this car. I have no regrets about purchasing it, and it's, you know, it lived up to my expectations from when I was a kid, which, you know, is a hard thing to do. They say don't meet your heroes, right? But, you know, being able to own this car and drive it is a huge privilege, and I will never kind of take that for granted. My intent with these videos is just to kind of provide any sort of enjoyment, and if not enjoyment, maybe it's a good form of therapy for you to go on these kind of drives and kind of just talk about cars. And that will kind of conclude my very first video, and featuring my E46 M3. So thank you for sticking around, and I hope I'll see you in my next one.